Hello everybody and welcome back to another tier list video. This is Second Baseman Tier List Part 1, Midseason 2022. Part 2 I should hopefully get out tomorrow. Sorry for the lack of uploads. It's been almost 2 weeks since I've last uploaded. It's just been really busy, so I haven't been able to get these out, but I'm back. If you haven't checked out the catcher and first baseman tier list videos, please check those out. They're very good. And that'll give you a general idea of how I do the tier list. But if you haven't seen those, let me just run through the rules for rating the players that I did for the other ones as well. So mostly the ratings are going to be based off of 2022 stats to this point in the season. Today is July 25th, so stats up through July 25th. In the 2022 season is mostly what's going to be based off of, but I also will focus on the overall careers of the players just a little bit. That will also be incorporated. Overall, I am rating the players on the S to F scale, S being elite, F being terrible, C being average right in the middle. Additionally, I have picked one player from every team, usually the starting player from every team, to be in this video. There's one exception though this time. If you'll notice, I have a big Pirates logo on here, and that's because I'm not going to be rating any Pirates players individually for this. And the reason for that is, if you look here, you'll see that for this season, the Pirates have not had a consistent starter at second base. They've used a lot of different players. It's mostly been Josh Van Meter, but he's only started 30 games. They have also used guys like Diego Castillo, Tucupita Marcano, Kevin Newman, and more. Usually when I'm looking at these, I'm trying to find someone who, has either played a lot of games or played most of their games at that one position. And none of these people on the Pirates really take the cake, and none of them are really that good. So I'm going to be putting all of the Pirates second basemen in F tier. Maybe that's a little bit cruel, but they just haven't had any good second baseman this year. That's why they've changed it out so many times this season. I also want to highlight Luis Guillorme and Jeff McNeil, who have been sharing almost equal time at second base for the Mets this season. They also play multiple other positions, which is why they have played a lot, but also shared the time at second base. And I wanted to showcase both of them because both these guys are better players than any second baseman on the Pirates. So I'm just going to be putting all Pirates second basemen in F tier, and then we'll talk about Guillorme and McNeil in part 2. But let's get into talking about these players in part 1. So part 1 will feature the first 8 players that we'll talk about. Parts 2 and 3 feature 11 players each in those videos. And we're going to be starting with Ozzie Albies of the Atlanta Braves. So Albies thus far has had a pretty successful career. I believe he's played for like 5 or 6 seasons. This year, though, has definitely been the worst year of his career. He's had really good defensive numbers like he always does. He's always an elite defender. But injuries have caused his speed to tick down to being just an average runner instead of being an elite runner, which is what he used to be. And the hitting just isn't there either. So for this season, he's playing like a C-tier guy. But when you look at his whole career, he's really been more of like an A-tier player his whole career. Last year, he even got MVP votes and was a very important part of the Braves' run. So let's even it out. I'm going to put him in B tier. Like I said, I do incorporate the whole career of the player, not just how they've done this season. So I'm going to put him in B tier for now. But if the regression continues to happen, he could see himself move down. Honestly, I feel like he'll move back up into A tier within the next year or two. But for right now, I am going to factor in the fact that he has played not that great this year. So I'm going to put him in B tier. Oopsies. There we go. Next, we have Jose Altuve, who's had a bit of controversy over the last few years with the whole cheating scandal coming out from the 2017 Astros World Series run, and also Altuve's MVP win season. But despite that controversy, I still think he is one of the best second basemen in baseball. The All-Star voters, people who voted for the All-Star game, agree with me. They voted him in to be the starter in the All-Star game for the American League this season, and he's totally deserving of it. He's been an absolutely insane hitter his entire career, other than the 1 year in 2020, which was a shortened season, so it was a little bit strange. But other than that, he's been an elite hitter his whole career. His defense and speed at this point in his career are like, they're only average. They used to be really good, and they've kind of ticked down, but his hitting still keeps him in the S tier alone. Altuve, while he might, not be everyone's favorite player, you have to recognize the fact that he's still one of the best, if not the best second baseman still in baseball. He has to be in S tier. Next, we have Miami Marlins second baseman Jazz Chisholm. And this is one of the most exciting young players in the MLB right now. He's just so fun to watch. And this year, he's living up to the hype, and he's playing out of his mind. He was selected to start in the All-Star game for the National League. He didn't start because of injuries, but he's played so dang well on all sides of the ball. He's an amazing defender at second base. He's so fast on the bases, and he hits for great power. He needs to cut down on the strikeouts a little bit, but honestly, even if he doesn't cut down on the strikeouts, he's still an elite player. Now, I'm not going to be putting him into S tier just yet because he's only has like 2 seasons like cumulative in his career. He just hasn't played that much. So for now, I'm going to put him in A tier, but there's potential by the end of next season he could be in S tier. I honestly feel like in the next season or two, this guy could be someone who competes for MVP awards. He is that good. He's so fun to watch too. Go watch a Marlins game. Watch Jazz Chisholm. He's awesome. All right, next we have Jake Cronenworth, who is the Padres second baseman. And Cronenworth, I honestly didn't expect him to be as good as he has been so far in his career. He's only played, 2 seasons, and then so far for this year. But he's been very, very good. This year's been the worst year of his career, but he's still been very good. He's selected for the All-Star team this season. He's been amazing and kind of a diamond in the rough for the Padres. He doesn't do anything elite. His hitting is like very good. His defense is very good, and his speed is very good. He's like really good at a lot of different things, but he isn't amazing at anything. So I'm not going to be putting him into S tier. So far, he's been so consistent in his young career, and on top of that, he has positional versatility, plays all 4 of the main infield positions. He's just a really great player. Like I said, S tier is out of reach right now for him. I feel like it's much more in reach for a guy like Chisholm. But so far, he's been incredible. I have no reason to believe that he can't stay in the upper echelons of second base rankings going forward. All right, next for the St. Louis Cardinals, I have Brendan Donovan. And while Donovan hasn't necessarily been the second baseman for the Cardinals this year, that's mostly been Nolan Gorman. Donovan has moved around and played almost every position on the field. First base, second base, third base, shortstop, all 3 outfield positions. He's played all over the place. The reason for that is that he's just not a great defender at any position, so they've just moved him all over. But the fact that he can play all those positions, very nice thing to have. Additionally, he has played a little bit more overall than Gorman. Like I said, Gorman's played more second base specifically, but Donovan has played more overall. So I felt like it would be wrong to not include him on a tier list somewhere, so I left off Gorman for now, and I've brought in Donovan instead. So this is Donovan's rookie season. So far, he's been a really great hitter. The thing that's impressed me most has been his overall plate discipline and the fact that he doesn't really strike out that much, and he walks all the time. That's something that's really good to look for when looking at a young player and determining if they can be really good in the future. Now, while I don't think Donovan is going to necessarily be an amazing player going forward, I think he has the potential to be a really solid, everyday guy for a really long time. For right now, I'm going to be putting him into B tier. I could be a little bit more reserved since it is rookie season and put him in C tier, but I really like what I've seen with the plate discipline and the overall positional versatility. That makes me really confident that he'll continue to be a good player going forward. All right, next we have the Blue Jays second baseman Santiago Espinal. Changed positions from being a third baseman last year, and before that he was a shortstop for most of his career, so he's done a lot of positional change recently. But he's been the starter for the Blue Jays, and he's been very good. Was selected to the All-Star team this year. And while he wasn't a starter, he's had a very good season. The offense has been right around average, but it's really the defense that has carried him so far in his career. He's an elite defensive second baseman. He was elite last year as the third baseman. He's just a really, really good defensive player. While the speed isn't amazing or anything, the overall defense keeps him out of the C tier on its own. And the fact that he hits average, I'm going to be putting him in the B tier. Like I said, The hitting is right around average. The speed is right around average. But with the defense being as great as it is, that alone gets him up into B tier. Defense is very important for second base. All right, on to the last two players of this particular video. We have Thairo Estrada of the San Francisco Giants. Well, I believe Tommy La Stella was going to be the second baseman prior to this season for the Giants. It's mostly been Estrada playing second base because of La Stella's injuries. And while Estrada hasn't been great, he also hasn't been a liability. He's someone that I'm pretty sure the Giants are really comfortable putting in the lineup every day, just based on the fact that he hits for average. Defense isn't great, but it's not horrible either. Overall, I'm going to be putting him into the C tier. There's not a whole lot to go off from his prior career before this season, so I'm mostly just going to be focusing on this season. And he hasn't been horrible. I think he's replaced La Stella well in the starting lineup. And while La Stella overall would probably be a better option going forward once he returns from injuries, for the time being, Estrada's a solid piece to have in the starting lineup. And I think he's C tier. He's okay. All right, lastly, we have Adam Frazier, who is the Seattle Mariners second baseman. This is his first year as a Mariner, mostly played his career with the Pirates. Very up and down career in Pittsburgh, but his last season with Pittsburgh was very good. He was the starter in the All-Star game last season for the Pirates because he was just having a really great year. But then he was traded to the Padres, and suddenly the great year he was having went completely downhill and just really didn't have a good end of the season with the Padres. The Padres weren't happy about that, so they traded him to Seattle, and so far Seattle has not benefited. He's been even worse in Seattle than he was in San Diego. Just nothing to get really excited about with this guy. The defense is just kind of average. He does play outfield as well, so like that's a nice thing is that he can play corner outfield as well as second base, but overall, he's not an amazing athlete or an amazing defender or anything, and the hitting has just been very poor the last season or so. I'm going to be putting him in D tier. The previous parts of his career have been rather inconsistent, so there's nothing really to go off of there. I just don't think he's a relatively great player by any means. So D tier it is for Adam Frazier. So this is the start of the second baseman tier list. I hope you guys enjoyed watching. Got our first 8 players here as well as all the Pirates second basemen in F tier. Please hit the like button if you haven't already. Comment down below if you agree or disagree. Let me know where you think I'm going to put some of these guys in the upcoming videos. And yeah, this has been a really good one. Thank you all for watching. See you all in the next one. Bye-bye.